Beneath the city lies a place people refuse to talk about. An abandoned subway station sealed off after a fire 40 years ago. Officials claimed it was nothing but smoke and rubble, yet those who dared to enter never came back. They say each platform opens to a different world, and waiting on the last one is something that isn't human. Beneath the city, hidden behind rusted gates and concrete walls, there was a subway station long forgotten. 40 years ago, a fire tore through the tunnels, swallowing lives in smoke and flame. The city sealed it off and buried its name, as if closing a wound no one wanted to reopen. Official reports called it an accident. Locals whispered something darker. Jason had heard those whispers all his life. Stories of shadows moving where no light could reach, of screams echoing through the sealed stairwells late at night. To most people, it was just an urban legend. But Jason wasn't most people. He wanted proof, something to make his friends stop calling him paranoid. Something that would finally explain the dreams he'd been having for weeks. Dreams of standing on a deserted platform while something breathed just behind him. On a cold November night, he found himself at the rusted entrance. A broken padlock dangled uselessly from the gate, as if someone had been there recently. His flashlight flickered as he pushed the metal aside and stepped down into the darkness. Each step echoed unnaturally, bouncing back at him like the station itself was awake and listening. The air grew colder with every flight of stairs. Jason's breath puffed out in sharp clouds, though outside it hadn't been nearly this cold. He tried to shake off the chill crawling across his neck, but the silence was too heavy. At the bottom, the tunnel opened into the abandoned station. The walls were blackened with soot, but the fire couldn't explain the strange symbols carved into the tiles. Lines, circles, shapes that made his head throb when he looked at them too long. He ran his fingers across one of the carvings. It was deep, fresh, as if someone had made it only days ago. That was when he heard it. A sound faint, but unmistakable, the hollow echo of footsteps, not his own. Jason froze, raising his flashlight. The beam caught only dust swirling in the air. "Hello?" His voice cracked. The word echoed back, warped, almost mocking. He swallowed hard and pressed on, boots crunching against shattered glass scattered across the floor. Then he saw a sign, half hidden under layers of soot, letters barely visible but still legible. "Do not enter. The demon awaits." His stomach twisted. The letters weren't spray painted, weren't scratched by vandals. They were burned into the metal itself, edges still warped, as if scorched by something impossibly hot. Jason told himself it was a prank, an old scare tactic meant to keep people out. But the air grew heavier the closer he came to the platform. He could hear it now, a faint whisper threading through the silence, words too soft to understand, but urgent enough to freeze his blood. And then his flashlight flickered, just for a second. In that second, he swore he saw a figure standing at the far end of the platform, tall, twisted, and waiting. The light steadied. The platform was empty. But Jason knew he wasn't alone anymore. Jason stood frozen, the whispering still threading through the stale air. His flashlight trembled in his hand as he swept the beam across the empty platform. Nothing. The figure was gone. But deep down, he knew it hadn't disappeared. It was hiding, waiting. The platform stretched ahead, lined with old benches and rusted trash cans. Above him, the faded sign still read Platform 3. The rails below were blanketed in soot. Yet something about them seemed untouched by time, as if they still carried energy. Jason's chest tightened as he realized the whispers were coming from the tracks. Against every instinct screaming at him to leave, he stepped closer. His boots scraped the edge, and suddenly a rush of air surged up from the tunnel. Not the breeze of a passing train. There hadn't been one here in decades. This air was hot, metallic, and smelled of burning flesh. Jason staggered back, but the ground shook beneath his feet. From the tunnel's gaping mouth, a glow flickered. orange light like fire reflecting off walls. His heart pounded. Something was moving inside. Then, impossibly, the roar of a train. He heard wheels screeching, the thunder of iron against iron, though the rails before him lay broken and dead. A headlight blazed into view, blinding and unreal. Jason shielded his eyes as a train screamed into the station, its windows black, its frame warped, the metal dripping as if it had just crawled out of a furnace. The doors slid open with a hiss. No passengers, only shadows. But those shadows shifted, stretching across the seats, forming limbs and heads that weren't human. Jason's throat went dry. He should have run, but his body moved on its own. He stepped inside. The doors slammed shut behind him. Instantly, the whispers grew louder, voices overlapping, countless souls speaking at once. His flashlight flickered, struggling against the suffocating darkness. Every window now showed something different. A forest burning, a field of ice littered with bodies, a black ocean churning with hands reaching from below. Jason stumbled down the aisle, his light shaking. Every seat he passed seemed to hold someone, no, something. Charred figures slumped forward, their empty eye sockets glowing faintly red. One by one, they turned their heads toward him, though their bodies never moved. The train jolted forward. Jason was thrown against the door. He pounded his fists against the glass, but outside was no longer the station. Instead, the train sped through a tunnel of fire. The walls pulsed as if alive, and the air grew so hot his skin burned just to breathe. A figure appeared at the far end of the car, tall, stretched, its body flickering like a flame. It moved slowly, each step making the windows shatter, sparks raining across the floor. Jason backed away, heart hammering against his ribs. "Who are you?" he gasped. The figure's face rippled, impossible to focus on. Its mouth opened wide, too wide, and the chorus of whispers became a single word that rattled through the metal car. "Mine." The train screeched, derailing into impossible darkness. Jason was thrown into the void. When he hit the ground, he wasn't on the train anymore. He was standing on another platform, this one frozen over, breath fogging in the air, icicles hanging from the ceiling like teeth. And somewhere in the frost-covered shadows, something crawled closer. Now the demon takes a new form in the icy world. Jason's knees hit the frozen platform hard. His breath came out in clouds, the cold biting deep into his skin. The silence was unbearable. No hum of electricity, no dripping water, just the endless groan of ice shifting above him. His flashlight beams struggled against the frost, the lens fogging over, but he could still see the tunnel stretching into white emptiness. Every surface glittered like glass. The tracks were buried beneath solid ice, sharp ridges jutting up like frozen spines. Then came the sound scratching. Nails, claws, something dragging across the ice. Jason spun, the light sweeping wildly until it caught movement. A figure crawled from the tunnel, its body twisted and pale, bones jutting out beneath translucent skin. Its eyes burned faintly blue, and when it opened its mouth, the same whispers poured out, echoing in the frozen cavern. Jason staggered back, slipping on the ice. His body screamed to run, but there was nowhere to go. The tunnel behind him had sealed with a wall of frost. He was trapped. The creature rose to its feet, taller than any human, its limbs too long, its jaw unhinged in a silent scream. Jason lifted the flashlight, but the beam sputtered and died. Darkness swallowed him whole. The whispers pressed against his ears, louder, clearer now. "You chose this. You stepped inside. Now you belong here." "Why me?" Jason shouted, his voice breaking. His words bounced back at him, twisted into mockery. A sound like laughter rolled through the frozen air, though the creature never moved its mouth. Slowly, it raised its hand and pointed at him. The ice beneath Jason cracked. A black pit yawned open, jagged shards splitting around him. From the depths below, arms, hundreds of them, reached up, pale and clawing, grasping for his legs. Jason screamed, kicking free, but the arms pulled harder, dragging him toward the pit. He clawed at the ice, nails splitting against the frozen surface, but the frost shattered beneath his grip. The creature stepped closer, towering above, its shadow stretching endlessly. Its voice cut through the whispers, deep and final. Fear feeds me, and you are endless fear. Jason's body slipped into the pit. Darkness swallowed him, colder than death. When he opened his eyes, he was standing on the original platform again. The station looked the same: burned walls, broken benches, silence. His flashlight flickered weakly, but his hands weren't his own. They were pale, cracked, and smoldering faintly at the fingertips. A sound behind him made him turn. At the far end of the platform, a new figure stepped into the station. Another curious soul, flashlight in hand, looking around nervously. Jason opened his mouth to call out, but only whispers came. The same whispers he had heard. Endless, hungry, inhuman. And as the newcomer froze in terror, Jason realized the truth. The demon hadn't been a creature waiting in the tunnels. The demon was the station itself. Every lost soul became part of it. And now, Jason was one of them. Jason becomes part of the demon subway, ready to trap the next victim.